各位早安佛光的观众菩萨，大家平安吉祥。今天呢是6月份最后一个星期六哈，所以是妙光法师专程为我们早安佛光录制的这个英文版的早安佛光哈。那现在星期六的进行方式，我不知道各位从中是不是也能够学习到英文佛学名相哦。那前面几周呢都是我们来看就是妙光法师在差不多20年前当时所录下来的教材在电视佛学院哈。那么但是每一个月会有一次就是最后就月底了最后一个星期六呢是妙光法师专程为我们录的所以它不限名相。它更灵活的会结合他正在进行中的一些事情，或者忙着什么事情包含有启发的想跟大家分享的像这一次呢我看这次各位会看到是有字幕的有中英文字幕这个真的要感谢妙光法师提供的这个他讲完之后，他先用叫 AI 先导出英文，然后就寄给知圣法师知圣法师呢是在我们忙着园游会的准备工作之中抽空档就在那里要再用叫做Chat GPT 再把它翻成中文，当然还要校稿校对啦校对反复几次再有人帮忙这样子然后他再把它就按照这个妙光法师在讲说，然后字幕再这个把它对上去所以真的是很用心的下了一番功夫所以才可以呈现今天的有字幕版的这英文版的早安佛光那当然这个内容还是最主要的我想不用我多说，但是一看这个题目不受第二支箭这个是师父在讲星云说喻里头引用到佛陀讲说的一个譬喻那这个呢我觉得不是听听而已，也不是只有学名相英文名相专有名词而已，而是真的要把它用在日常生活中就是像一般的人遇到事情当然大部分是逆境，遇到逆境的话了中箭重伤了这第一支箭，那后面就有很多的为什么这样呢？哎呀早知道如何了怎么那个叫第二度伤害，就第二支箭。我看有的人可能第二支箭第三支箭已经是像刺猬这不知道几支箭但是妙光法师跟我们这个强调的这个他举 Lancaster 教授的例子我觉得真的太有启发了当然不用我多说，我觉得现在就是时候我们要一起进入妙光法师为我们主讲早安佛光的今天的话题我们一起来观看学习，祝福大家，阿弥陀佛。
吉祥 and auspicious greetings. Welcome to Good Morning Fo Guang. My name is Miao Guang, which literally means wonderful light. Today we'll explore a profound teaching from the Buddha known as the analogy of the two arrows. This is Bodhi Light Tales story number 171. Have you ever realized how some people seem to handle life's challenge with grace and resilience, while others struggle and suffer more deeply? Today, we will explore a profound teaching from the Buddha, which sheds light on this very mystery. Let us dive into the wisdom of this ancient teaching by hearing the story in a nutshell. The Buddha, renowned for his skillful teaching methods, once posed a question to his disciples. What is the difference between a trained person and an untrained person when both experience pleasant and painful feelings? The disciples, unsure, waited for the Buddha to explain. So the Buddha described how an untrained person reacts to pain with sorrow, grief, and a desire to escape through sensual pleasures, resulting in both physical and mental suffering, which is similar to being struck by two arrows. This aversion to pain becomes a habitual tendency, leading to attachment to birth, aging, and death. In contrast, a trained person experiences only physical pain without the mental anguish. They understand the nature of pain. They know it will pass and will not take refuge in sensual pleasures. So they avoid the second arrow by remaining unattached to life's inevitable changes. Enlightened by this teaching, the disciples expresses their gratitude and became committed to the diligent practices of avoiding the two arrows. In this story, we see that the first arrow represents the unavoidable pain and difficulties that are part of life. This includes physical pain, natural disaster, loss, and other forms of inevitable suffering. These experiences are beyond our control and are a part of the human condition. For instance, getting sick or experiencing the loss of a loved one are examples of the first arrow. These events become our initial pain, which are natural and unavoidable. The second arrow symbolizes the additional suffering we create for ourselves through our reactions to the first arrow. This can include negative emotions such as anger, frustration, resentment, and self-pity. But these reactions are often within our control and are unnecessary and disproportionate to the initial pain. For example, when someone gets sick, that is the first arrow. The second arrow might be the anxiety and worry about being sick, the resentment of being in pain, or the self-pity of why this is happening to them. This self-inflicted suffering often exacerbates the pain caused by the first arrow. The Buddha's teaching encourages mindfulness and acceptance to deal with the first arrow effectively without adding to the second arrow. By recognizing that our reactions can amplify our suffering, we can work on responding with more equanimity and wisdom. This involves cultivating awareness of our thoughts and emotions, practicing acceptance of what we cannot change, and choosing not to add unnecessary suffering through our responses. Let's look at some practical ways to manage the second arrow. First, it's mindfulness. To observe your thoughts and feelings without judgment can help you recognize when you are shooting the second arrow. Number two, acceptance. Accepting that pain and difficulty are a part of life can reduce resistance and resentment. 3. Compassion. Being kind to yourself and others when experiencing the first arrow can mitigate the second arrow's impact. 4. Cognitive reframing. To change your perspective on the situation can help reduce additional emotional suffering. Let me share a story about Dr. Lancaster, who had a fall in the kitchen 2 months ago. At age 92, he had begun to use a walker to remain mobile. He shared with us that sometimes when he felt strong, he would try to not use one as he moved around the house. So there was one late evening when he got up and went to the kitchen to get a glass of water. Unfortunately, as he turned around in front of the sink, he fell and hurt his vertebrae. During his recovery in the hospital, he thought to himself, the fall had been caused by his arrogance. But his therapist, upon hearing this, said to him, "No, you didn't fall because of your arrogance. You fell simply because of gravity." And this comment reminded him that we all get pulled down by gravity, which is an invisible force that pulls everything down to the ground like a magnet that pulls metal things. And our legs are like the bottom of a tower. If the bottom is not strong, the tower will collapse as gravity pulls it down. So this reminded Dr. Lancaster to avoid the second arrow of self-blame by realizing that using a walker didn't mean he was weak. It only meant that the body needs more support against gravity. Nothing more, nothing less. And he was able to make peace with it. Similarly, we can practice bare attention to observe life as it happens without rushing to label our feelings. This helps us to focus on what can be done next rather than fixating on what should have happened next. Indeed, this is the difference between whether you get shot by life's second arrows or not. Can we gain clarity of insight by practicing bare attention? That is, to just observe life as it happens without getting in a hurry to label our feelings with good or bad, pleasant or unpleasant, desirable or undesirable, and so on. This helps us focus on what can be done next, rather than fixating on what should have happened. We are always thinking, if only. What if? Only if this happened, that would happen. When we think that, we are shooting the second arrow. And just a note on my personal experience regarding this. Last week, I flew back from San Francisco International Airport, and I was given a priority pass through security, while Venerable Ziyue, who traveled with me, had to go through the long, slow line. However, although my line was short, I realized that it wasn't moving at all, while Venerable Ziyue just cruised through the slower lane and was just about one turn away from security. So those who sent us off started to laugh and say maybe she would get through to security before me in the priority lane. And as I heard that, I began to get impatient because I started to look at the line and I started to think, why isn't the line moving? It should be moving. As soon as I did that, I told myself, okay, are you living in reality as it is or reality as it should be? And at that moment, I asked myself to just let my mind sit with my body and watch what happens, because the flight was 2 hours away and I was not getting anywhere. So I may as well just let the mind sit patiently and watch what happens. Interestingly, as I thought that, the line began to move smoothly. And within 10 minutes, I got through security and was waiting for Venerable Ziyue, who was very close behind me. I hope I had dodged the second arrow. I realized that whether or not I was impatient, I would eventually get through. As the saying goes, suffering is inevitable. Pain is optional. Would you choose to get shot by the second arrow or dodge it? This is all I have to share this week. Thank you for joining me today on this journey through the teaching of the two arrows. May we all learn to respond to life's challenges with wisdom and compassion. If you're interested, please go to the link provided below the video to listen to the full story. If you enjoyed this talk, please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much. See you next time on Good Morning佛光.